Council, are we ready with the next witness? Before that, if I can just say a few words about today being Nelson Mandela Day. The world is honoring him and for his legacies. And one of his legacies, the establishment of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa. We are following in his footsteps. Let's do our best to achieve a lot for our country in that area. Anyway, if you're ready for the witness, please bring him in.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Good afternoon to you all. If I may just seek some guidance, considering that we started half an hour late, will this session be for 1 hour, or will we take an hour and a half and change the entire session timing?
Let's take the hour and a half, and if it requires changing, we can be here until midnight.
Well, hopefully it won't come to that. Mr. Usher, can I ask that you bring the witness in?
I, Pap Saine.
I, Pap Saine.
Do affirm that.
Do affirm that.
I'll speak the truth.
I will speak the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing do.
Nothing but the truth.
Nothing but the truth.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Saine. Welcome to the TRRC.
Good afternoon, Madam.
Thank you very much for taking the time to come and testify before the Commission. You already know my name, Horeja Balagay. I will be guiding your testimony today on behalf of the Commissioners. The Commissioners may also ask you some questions at the end of my questioning. I understand that due to your health conditions, you may need to take frequent breaks, so please feel free to do so, to ask at any point in time if you would like to take a break.
Thank you.
In the hearing room, there's interpretation into the local languages. Therefore, I ask that you speak slowly, speak into the microphone, and allow a few seconds between the end of my speech and the beginning of your speech so that the interpreters can finish their interpretation.
I will.
And of course, if my questions are unclear at any point, or if you would like me to repeat, please feel free to do so. So just to give you an overview of the areas that we will talk about today during your testimony, we will begin with your biographical details, your academic qualifications, as well as your professional background. Then we will talk about your personal experiences as a journalist in the Gambia. We will talk about multiple arrests that you faced yourself in 1995, as well as multiple arrests in 2009. We will also talk about the late Dada Haidara, just briefly in terms of information that you may have that is helpful to the Commission. and then we will conclude with some recommendations from you in relation to media sector reform, including any measures that will assist freedom of the press initiatives. So that's generally what I hope to cover in the next 2 sessions. Is that fine?
Yes, madam. Thank you.
So the first question is, can you state your full name for the record?
My name is Pap Babukar Sen.
And Mr. Sen, when and where were you born?
I was born 4th October 1950 in Banjul, 42 Gloucester Street.
Can you briefly tell us about your academic qualifications? It's mainly about which institutions you attended and when you attended those institutions.
As I said to you, I was born 4th October 1950, and I attended my schooling in Senegal, both primary and high school.
Can you tell us which schools you attended and when you attended those schools?
Well, for the primary, 1958 to 64, I started with a primary school called Papa Gay Fall. Then 64 to 70, I continued my junior and secondary education to a mission school called Notre Dame du Liban, means our Lebanese lady. I was not the only Gambian there. We are 4 to study in that school of mission in Dakar. So after completing my high school, my father decided that I should come back because there were frequent strikes, school student strikes in Senegal.
So after your primary and secondary education, you came back to the Gambia. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
What is your current profession?
My current profession? Well, I'm a journalist.
Can you tell us if you've had any courses on journalism?
Yes, I did courses with Ghana News Agency in 1976 when I was recruited by Reuters. You know, Reuters, besides its agency, you have Reuters News Agency and Reuters Foundation. And Reuters Foundation very often offer scholarship to non-employers of Reuters and even employers of Reuters. The last Gambian who benefited from the Reuters Foundation was Serif Bojang Jr. So I had the opportunity, I was fortunate enough to be given the opportunity to do short courses in journalism in Ghana. And when we opened our office in Abidjan for the West Africa Bureau, we had also a course there. In 1988 also, I was fortunate by the State Department to go to states with to visit 8 different states to cover the election, to know how to cover election, to gauge opinion polls, so to get more experience about election covering, the campaign and the election itself. So beside that also, I had so many trainings in overseas.
And I know that your career in journalism is quite extensive, so I'm sure we won't be able to cover everything. But can we just start from the beginning? Where did you start your career in journalism?
Well, here, when I finished, as I said, my high school, when I came to the Gambia, my first opportunity to work was Radio Seed, 1970.
And for how long did you work at Radio Seed?
From 1970 to 1992.
tell us a bit about Radio Seed? What was Radio Seed? What was its significance at the time?
Seed in Swedish, when you want to translate it, is mean south. Is the first private radio station in Africa, because many African governments at that time don't want private radio station. But Gambia was fortunate to get the first private radio station. The radio station was owned by a Swedish lady, but managed by a Gambian by the name of Sonjai, well known in the media, who did many coverages with me overseas with the national team. He was the manager for 3 years.
So during your time at Radio Seed, which was the first private radio station in Africa, over the 22 years, can you tell us the different positions that you held at Radio Seed?
Well, Radio Seed, I was a producer of musical program. I was doing advertisement. I was doing announcement in English, in French, in Wolof. Basically, the radio was not permitted by the government to make its own news. We depended to Radio Gambia. Whenever Radio Gambia present news, we link with Radio Gambia. So there was the agreement between Radio Seed and Radio Gambia. Radio Seed was very popular in the sub-region, not only in the Gambia, but Senegal and Guinea-Bissau. That time, the youth want to tune Radio Seed to be au fait with music in general, African music, European music, in a nutshell, Western music, even American music or other music. So it was why that it was very popular, and business people, they come to the radio. That time we advertise for them. We introduce many facilities, even overseas. Some cigarettes like Piccadilly, Rossman, and other things, and Battery Barrack, all they come to the Gambia to advertise for Radio Seed because it was a popular radio.
So after 22 years at Radio Seed, I assume that during that time you were working elsewhere.
Well, yes. Through the help of my late friend, Deida Haidara, who introduced me to Reuters. You know, at first, it was Mrs. Maria Haidara, the wife, who worked for Reuters. And 76, she decided to relinquish, to retire, because she was busy for married ground. She left that position. So Haidara gave me a recommendation. And one Reuters sent an envoy at Atlantic in Banjul. I went to meet the guy. He asked me my educational background, and also he asked me to apply, and also he asked me to have a referee, somebody who can, a personality who can testify that I'm an honest guy, I'm a credible guy. With that, I was lucky to meet Antuman Gay, a lawyer. At that time, Antuman was a magistrate. I met him that I was fortunate with Reuters because they asked me my credential, which I did. They give me the opportunity because the wife, Maria, said she's no longer able to do journalism and keep the children. So Antuman said, no problem, Pap. I will write you a letter right now and type it. You will attach it in your application. Let me read even the application so that if at all there is any lapses, I will adjust it for you. And he was satisfied because I worked with Data before about the application. Antuman was happy and put his recommendation to Reuters. I give it to them. They said they will give me 3 months trial. Then if I'm okay, they will see whether I will be sent to Ghana or UK. All depend of the funds of the foundation. So afterwards, I spoke to my boss that time, Sol Njai, and Sol said, well, it's an opportunity for you and also for the Gambia so that you upgrade your standard for training in Ghana News Agency, which was correct, which I did. So since 1976, I'm working for Reuters. But in between, in the 80s, I covered for Mauritania, Guinea-Bissau, Reuters. All the big events also, I used to cover Reuters. Even the Liberian crisis in 1990, between Taylor and Joe Wuyu, when they had a problem, the peace talks, the former president, Sadao Jawara, was the chairman of ECOWAS. I was present to do the coverage for Reuters. I was not the only Reuters correspondent, but since I was bilingual, they needed my service to push the team of Reuters. In 91 also, for the first time, the Pope came to Africa in Guinea-Bissau. I was fortunate to go there. I covered big events for Reuters, 1984 coup in Mauritania, when President Ultaya was overthrown, 1990 when President Vieira took over, I covered it for Reuters. So for Reuters, up to now, up to date, I'm their correspondent, and in 2006 I was their dean, up to now also, for West and Central Africa, Reuters.
So presently you still work for Reuters?
Yes.
From 1976 until now?
Yes, yes.
What about the Gambia Press Union? Did you have a hand in establishing the Gambia Press Union?
Yes, I'm the founder. I'm among the founder members. GP was formed November 78 and was registered April 79 at the AG Chambers to get the records correct. It was,
I was
in November
about to ask you.
in Banjul that we had that opportunity with late Deida Haidara, Rudolph Allen, Ngany Thomas, J. Seidi, Baka, S.A. Baka, M.B. Jones, who was the president. So it was 1978, November, that we formed Gambia Press Union. But it was April 79 that it was registered in AG Chambers.
Because we have heard testimony that it was established in 1979. So thank you for that clarification.
Yes, 79 was not accurate.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you, madam.
What was the motivation behind setting up the Gambia Press Union at the time?
It was timely in a sense. We needed that time to educate more the public what is the meaning of the press, the role of the press. We are watchdogs. We are here to inform, to educate the public. And also we defended and up to now defend press freedom. So in a nutshell, we were glad to form that association. It was very late even because in some countries, Ghana, Nigeria also, they had their press union well before. And also that time, they will allow us to defend the interests of journalists in the Gambia.
So while you were working at Radio Seed and also for Reuters, did you also work for the Senegambia Sun?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes, Senegambia Sun was established in 1983 to 1989. The purpose to establish that paper is to promote the Senegambia Confederation. That paper was owned by the Senegalese daily Le Soleil because it was the parent body of Le Soleil, and I used to send reports to Le Soleil about sport activities in the Gambia. So the MD that time, Bara Diouf, initiated to come to the Gambia. I told my late friend Deda Haidara, we had a meeting with him, and he said, since Gambia, you don't have tabloid newspaper, it's appropriate. I will talk to the two heads of state, Abdou Diouf and Sir Dawda, to help us with funds so Gambia will have newspaper, because I cannot believe you have this kind of newspapers, the A4 letters, just to type to say that it's a newspaper and it's not newspaper. I said, well, it's rather unfortunate. We have this kind of paper, A4 size, type only, no picture, nothing. He said, well, let me talk to the two head of states. We'll launch the paper. We'll call the paper Senegambia Sun. So Babukar Gueye, because Data said he was busy with Radio Seed. I too, I was with Radio Seed. But we said that we are going to work part-time. Yes, so we work part-time. We are few. We have Musa Kasatal, who was there as accountant. So we are about 4 only to run the paper. But after the dissolution of the Confederation, the paper collapsed.
Apart from that, did you make any contributions to other newspapers?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
The Gambian, owned by Ngany Thomas, I used to contribute there, especially sports, the Gambian. Then the Topic magazine. Topic magazine, when Nana Gray Johnson launched that magazine, a friend of mine, Babali, Imam Babali, came to me, said, since your life is about journalism, there's a new paper called Topic magazine, and the owner is Nana Gray Johnson. Why not assist, do part-time there? I said, well, talk to him. If he agree, fine. So I went to Nana. He said, Pap, I know you very well. My doors are open, because the more reporters that I have, they can get experience. All is yours. So I said, I want to create sport column, which was lacking. I said to him, it was 1990. I told him that I'm going to Algeria for the African Cup of Nations. So since you have a magazine and it's monthly, I'm going to send you reports to catch up more readers, because the youth, they like sports. So in a nutshell, I contributed with the Gambian, owned by Ngany Thomas, the Topic magazine owned by Nana Gray Johnson, and also Gambia News Bulletin. Gambia News Bulletin is owned by government. The editor is a good friend of mine, a brother, Cherno Jallo. I had a meeting with him and Marcel Tomasi. I discussed with them that the paper, since the departure of my friend, Dupe Joyner, who's the brother of Remy Joyner, there's no sport. They said, yes, you are right. If you can help, you are fine. You know, most of the paper, it was only voluntary that I was doing, not money. My hobby was every time to see my byline. You know, if I see my byline, I'm happy. And with that, always, I was praying also God to have my own newspaper one day, because it's good to work for different papers, to have your byline, but I pray God day and night, you know, to have my own newspaper. And God answered my prayers together with my late brother, Deda Haidara. We had Senegambia Sun, December 1691.
The Point newspaper, would that be the Point newspaper that you established with the late Deda Haidara?
Yes, 16 December. I will tell you the history also.
It was yourself, Deda Haidara?
And late Babukar. Babukar Gueye came 16 December, but April decided to resign to go for his own, Babukar. Then, when he resigned, I decided with Deda to continue the struggle. And we make the paper weekly, and then after 2-3 years, thrice weekly. because, Madam, the years of before 90s, there was no regular tabloid newspaper because of financial gains. It was very difficult to print newspaper. So when we established the paper, 1991, 16 December. Why 16 December? Because it's the birthday of Mrs. Maria Hydra, the wife, the widow of late day Hydra. So we took the birthday anniversary and named it. So that time we had some friends, many friends who said, you people, you should have a newspaper in town, because whenever you travel, you see good newspapers, people reading it. So there's a lapses, there's a vacuum. You should fill this vacuum.
Apart from, well, prior to that, apart from Radio Seed, you also worked for other radio stations.
Well, not work, but I can't say work, because when you say work, it means salaries. As I said to you, I did it voluntarily. Radio Gambia, since 72 date, I am contributing sport. When Gambia plays football, they used to invite me. I used to come to do analysis and historical background of the Gambian national team. So West Coast Radio also gave me an opportunity 10 years ago that whenever Gambia plays, I should come there, make an analysis of football. So sport in general is my hobby, is my life.
I can see that.
Yes.
As a result of your very extensive career, you've received a number of awards for your career in journalism. I know that as early as 1998, you received a couple of awards. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, 88, I received a golden medal in Morocco, quiz competition in African football. It was that year that I became among the media officers. We are 8 media officers for the Confederation of African Football, because the Confederation of African Football is composed with 55 members of Africa. We have 8. So when the Federation of Morocco organized a quiz competition in African football, I was lucky to win that award with $500 that time. So when I came back, Alaji Obi Konate asked me to make sure to announce it on Radio Gambia. So I went to see the editor, Malik Jeng. So Malik said, well, I showed him the award and everything. He said, well, this is good for Gambia. Small Gambia winning this kind of thing, so we are going to announce it. So really, football is my life, and I used to cover African Cup of Nations many times, 16 times, World Cup 3 times.
You've also received a few awards for press freedom.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
2006 in Germany, with a foundation called John Flip. It was John Flip Prize, because the dedication they have for the paper, they said, on behalf of the Point newspaper and you yourself who is managing the paper, we give you this prize of John Palm Prize. It was in Germany in 2006. And 2010, in Vienna, the International Press Institute named me World Press Freedom Hero. In Africa, we are 10. In the world, we are 64. So it was why they said 2009, they follow through the media several arrests and detention that I face in the Gambia. Beside me, there were also 9 African journalists who suffered the same thing, like a colleague of ours, Kenneth Best, who was the MD of Observer, who is now running Observer in Liberia. So they gave me that motivation. 2014, the same year, IPI decided to write a book concerning my life with other journalists in Africa who suffered for that. It was organized in South Africa. The same year, 2014, also in Zambia, the biggest paper there, the Post, they invited me especially to honor me for defending press freedom. The same year also, 2014, Al Jazeera also invited me in their conference to honor me because of the press freedom.
And in fact, the World Press Freedom Hero Award is something you received twice, in
Yes.
2010 and then in 2014,
Yes.
as well as the other awards that you've mentioned.
It was why Al Jazeera invited me the same year.
So as I said earlier, we won't be able to go through your extensive career, but I just wanted to touch upon a few highlights so that people understand the extent of your career. I would now like to focus on your personal experiences as a journalist in the Gambia. First of all, I would like to focus on the article you wrote regarding a prison riot. Do you recall that article?
Yeah. The paper was published March 30th, 1995. Revolt at Mile 2. In that front page, there were two stories in the front, but the same link with the story of revolt. I myself wrote the story Revolt at Mile 2. And the other side of the front, 4 senior officers of the army wounded. Alun Badra Sow, who is now here in the hall, he's based in UK. Alun Badra Sow and Brahima Arnes went to the hospital. You know, when I wrote this story and submitted it to Data, who was the editor, when we heard that there were some people at the hospital, Alun Badra went to the hospital and Brahima Arnes to double check and show themselves that really it was a reality. So the paper, the story itself was published March 30th, 1995. But after that, 1st April, the same day, March 30th, when it was published, I was arrested. That day, I was supposed to go to Cameroon to a meeting UNESCO. I left my house early in the morning first to go to the bank, precisely Standard Bank, opposite the police. When I went there, 10 minutes, I saw a policeman waving me. I said, hello. I thought that he was only greeting me. Then the policeman said, please come. I said, I'm in the queue. He said, the IG want to see you now. I said, what happened? I said, no, I cannot tell you. But he said, he wants to see you urgent now. So I agree. I didn't make my bank transaction. I went with him. Upstairs, there's another guy ready for me. He said, Pap, you are arrested. I said, arrested for what? He said, you didn't see your paper today? I said, yes. Did you are the one who wrote this story? Yes, I said, yes. Come on. And we went to serious crime. He said, sit down.
Sorry, Mr. Saine, I might interrupt you from time to time just to ask you follow-up questions.
No problem.
Who was the IGP at the time?
Djibouti.
Djibuju.
Yes.
And which station were you taken to? Which police station?
Banjul headquarters. Serious crime.
And
then after major crime.
And
At first serious crime, then after major crime.
And do you recall the names of any of the officers that you spoke to?
Yes. Baïnias Ba, Babukar Sar, who is now the crime manager at the police, and Keita also, who is also manager at serious crime. They are the one, and one Mr. Job also. There were 4. They arrested me, and I told them that I wanted to travel. I said, travel? No. So when Haidara was in picture, late Haidara was in picture, he came to the police. He said, leave this man, and I'm ready to take his place. You arrest me. I'm the editor. And he was arguing with the police, Banyas. He said, I'm ready to die because I'm the editor. You should release Pap because he has to travel, and it's very important that he will travel because he has a meeting with UNESCO. They said, well, we don't mind. Mr. Haidara, with due respect, we will not arrest you. It's Pap that we want. Pap is the one who's the author of this story. So we want to also get arrested. Alun Badra saw Brahma Arnes. Then after they went to look of them, and then around noon, we all resembled there at major crime. They started to asking, who is your source? Your publication is false. Why you raise alarm in this situation that we have the tourist season? You want to exploit our economy. You want to exploit our tourist season. You sit down there. So afterwards, around noon, after 2, when Alun Badra and Prime Minister came, they said, you are going to be charged. I said, charged? Yes. But we are kept at the police for 4 days. We are able to get food, but not able to take shower. Mm-hmm.
And this was at the Banjul police station?
Yes.
Please continue. Please continue.
No. What I was saying, the same day when the paper came out, government decided to stop us to print at the Gambia National Printing because they said they were not allowing us to continue printing there. The same day, March 30th, they stopped us. I understand from Ibrahim Sankare, who is now the government spokesman, who told me that Data had a conversation with the permanent secretary then called Sompo Sise. And Sompo Sise said, yes, I was instructed to inform the management of the Gambia National Printing to stop printing to all newspapers, not only The Point, but all newspapers, all independent newspapers should not be allowed. So it's for the reason. Then we stopped printing there from the national printing. But afterwards, when Kasatal came to me 2 days he told me that we made an arrangement. I said, where? He said, Safidin. They just spoke to them to see that we'll go there with A4 size paper to make the stories there so that the paper will be out. And the guys, they were disappointed because they arrested us Thursday, Friday, but Monday the paper came out in A4 size, in better form, and they were surprised.
So not only were you and 2 journalists from The Point arrested, they also instituted a ban in order to stop publication by independent newspapers.
Yes.
So if we focus on the time that you spent at the police station, those 4 days,
yes.
Can you tell us about the conditions of your detention?
You know, detention is not easy because you don't have where to sleep, and thank God it's better than NIA because the police that time, we don't have mosquitoes, but it was very hard, mentally tortured, and thank that time all the religious leaders, either Christian, Muslim, when they had the news, on Monday they came to the police in large number. Large number, yes, because they said, I'm their friend, they know me very well, so why am I arrested? So they said, these people, they want to tarnish the name of the country. So we'll deal with PAP and Aliou Badrasau and Brahman. But we had high regard and esteem from the religious leaders and other people who came to sympathize with us.
So a lot of the questioning was around you revealing your sources of the riot.
We refused. We declined. We declined to divulge our source.
And yet they told you that you were being charged with a crime.
Yes.
What was the crime?
Sedition and false publication.
And did they explain to you which aspect of your story was considered false by them?
Well, they said the story was not accurate. It was false. I didn't go to the prison. How come I have the knowledge to write the story? I said, well, through my source, I verify my source before the publication. And there is my editor. And that time he knew me very well that I never bring a story which is not accurate because I know the danger and everything. So we publish it, we rely in this information. One day after again, they said, you are going to court. I said to them, you allow us to send people to get lawyers. After bitter argument, they agree. Still, I sent Ibrahim Sankare to lawyer Drame, who was a good friend of my dad, Abdullah Drame, late. Hassan Jallo, when he heard the news, the current Chief Justice came, and Usman Silla. All of them, because of my friendship, although the friendship of my dad, they came to us to defend us. Many people also approached Hassan Jallo that time to decline to represent us because they said he was recently released by the junta and it was not safe for him to come to represent to represent us. But despite that, Hassan said, I believe in press freedom. These are Gambians. I will not see that they seize their right. That was even his first case when he joined the bar. Then lawyer late Abdullah Drame, who was a friend of mine, who was friend of my dad, and also a lawyer of my dad, said, we are going to defend you in all aspects. So make sure that you will tell the truth and will know how we'll deal with these people in legal terms. Usman Silla also supported them. So the case, when we went to the police, when we went to court, afterwards we are released on bail. The case went on to September 26, 1995, when our lawyers submitted no case to answer. Because during the proceedings, two security officers admitted that there was a revolt. Babu Karsar, who is now the manager of crime unit, said categorically that time he served the police 11 years and he's not coming to swear, tell lies. So it was a fact that there was a revolt at Mile 2 because he went there, made investigation. The only guy who was against us was Bainyas Ba, one of the staff of the police or also serious crime. He wanted to paint it out to see that we are jail. But with the interrogation, the interview, with other things, our lawyers were capable to make sure that there was no case to answer. And September 26, 1995, we are discharged and acquitted. when we were acquitted and discharged, the following day, early in the morning, somebody...
Sorry, Mr. Saine, before you move to what happened the day after you were acquitted, I have a few follow-up questions for you.
Yes.
You told us that these lawyers represented you. Did they also represent your two other co-accused?
Yes.
Yes.
All
and
of
you
them.
were all acquitted?
Yes, acquitted and discharged. No case to answer.
No case to answer. During the 4 days that you spent in police custody, did the police do anything to you, to any one of you?
For myself, no. Really. No torture, no maltreatment. Because they saw that we have the support of the public. The late Imam Ratib, Abdullah Diop was there, and also on other district in Banjul, late Serigne Aliou Fall came there, the bishop, all of them, they came, expressed their solidarity and pray for us so that we'll be released. It was maybe because of that we were released on bail by the police. Then after the trial started in April till September.
And this was presumably at the Banjul Magistrates Court, is that correct?
Yes.
After the trial, after you were all acquitted, following a no case to answer submission, did anything happen to Mr. Ibrahim Ernest?
Ibrahim Ernest, I think afterwards, Aliou Badra Sow is here. Aliou is friend to Ibrahim. He will tell you more about his relation and Ibrahim and will explain in that angle. But to be in the safe side, when we are acquitted and discharged, later on I know that he traveled. Aliou also went to UK, Ibrahim Ernest, United States. I myself, I was offered by the embassy really to get visa for 10 years with my family to live. But I told them I believe in press freedom and Data is my partner. So for me, I will continue the struggle with him.
So which embassy offered to
United States.
The U.S. Embassy?
Yes. They called me and said, Mr. Saine, you are free. If you want, we can give you the visa because you work for the press freedom and everything. So really, we are ready for you to assist you. They gave me that assurance.
So after you were acquitted and discharged, did anything happen to you the next day?
Yes, of course. The next day what happened was, early in the morning, a security officer gave me a tip-off. He said, these people, they are not ready with you, Papsen. But I didn't say Aliou Badra Sow or Ibrahim Ernest, but you, Papsen, you have another case to answer and get ready. I said, well, what again the case? They said, these people are questioning your nationality. And get ready, if you have any document to prove that you are a citizen, do it. I said to him, thank you very much, no problem.
So essentially he was warning you that the government was still keeping you on its radar, and the next tactic was to question your nationality.
Yes, the same day, that person came, he's a security personnel, name of health, I cannot reveal the name, but came in the morning early, said, these people, they are ready for you. So if you have any document, prepare it, because later in the day, they will come for you. And the person was right. So when he said to me, 9 o'clock, when I had the information, I went to a friend, Salifu K. Jete, he has a printer. I gave him the passport of my dad, the title deed of 42 Gloucester. I asked him to photocopy for me. I said, for what? I said, well, they said they are not ready for me. They are ready for me, again, to charge me that I made false declaration to be a citizen. So since they are ready for me, help me to photocopy the passport of my dad, the title deed, so that when I go to the office, I will stand by and keep. 2 hours, immigration with 2 people, led by one Sekou Kamara. They came. Instantly when they came, 2 other friends who came to congratulate me for the victory, led Babu Sow, by Saine who is now the Bilal, they came to congratulate me. And these people also, they said, well, discuss with these 2 people after we, the security, we want to see you. I said, forward. He said, we want you at the immigration. I said, well, what happened again? He said, follow us. I said, it's about what? You must tell me, because I have here 2 witnesses who are here to sympathize with me. Bai Saine, Babu Sow are here. Tell me what you want from me. They said, well, to be honest with you, we want to question your personality. I said, yes. Thank God, I'm ready. Let me give you the photocopy of my dad and everything. Babu Sow told them that let's go to the immigration. We are the elderly people of Banjul. Banjulians know Banjulian. So let's go. I will tell your boss. The commissioner of the immigration called Balde, as he said, by Nai Sisi. Nai said, me, I know Pap because of sport. I was a goalkeeper. Pap is a Gambian. Balde also, the commissioner, said to the minister, Bajo, who was the minister of interior, I know the Pap fathers, because Pap fathers used to come every time at the airport. I used to assist him. So the passport, I know that he's his Pap father. And I told them that if you have if you want to more proof, the ex-director of immigration, Ibu Jani, he knew my father very well, and he was the one, even when the passport was lost, he helped me to get back the passport of my dad. So when, after meeting with them, Buba Balde also, late Buba Balde also came. He said, Pap, I knew him very well because we know that he's a Gambian. He was in Senegal to study there, but does not mean he's not a Gambian, because there are a lot of Gambians. I quoted them. Then even the school that I went in Dakar for the high school, I have 3 Gambians there. Charbel Elage, who is a prominent businessman, who was my schoolmate. You have Michel Hosseimi, owner of Banjul Pharmacy, who is a Gambian, and also who was there in the school. We are in the same school, so what is the problem? So Bajo said, Pap, we'll call you tomorrow. So when the next day when I went, he said, well, I'm sorry, we did our investigation. I reported the matter to State House that really it was wrong move to question your nationality, because you show all the proof, the passport of your dad, the title deed of 42 Gloucester. That alone show that you are a citizen. And citizenship, even if you are born in China and one of your parents was born here, you are a citizen. Much more that you are a citizen.
So,
that was the scenario.
So from what you understood, the instruction to question your nationality came from State House.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Considering that in 1995 you were 45 years old, were you surprised? Was that the first time your nationality had been questioned?
Yes.
And were you surprised? How did that feel?
Well, I said it's part of my job, because questioning nationality of journalists is not the first time. You know, you had my previous colleagues, Yoro Jallo, Baba Gale Jallo, all of them, they questioned their nationalities. All this is to discourage us, to make us fear to the detriment of our job. We will not allow, because documents speak volume. If you have your you speak, so it's okay. So nothing.
Had your nationality been different, meaning if you came from another country, what do you think would have happened to you?
Well, if at all I didn't have the proper documents, of my dad, the passport itself. You know, I wanted to bring you even the passport, the title deed, but he said to me, this is not a court. You asked me that. If not, I will show publicly the passport of my dad. The photo.
Well, we don't doubt that you are Gambian, so. And this was in 1995, less than a year after the AFPRC regime was in power.
Yes.
What did that signal to you as to how the regime would treat journalists? What was going through your mind at the time, considering your ordeal?
You know, when they took over, I mean the junta, it was, the honeymoon was only 2 months between the journalists and the junta. Because at first, when they took over Friday. So Monday, when we went to State House, the then chairman reassured us that first I will stay for 2 terms, 10 years. Sorry. He said I will not. No Gambian will stay more than 10 years here. I'm ready to fight corruption. So now, journalists, it's your turn to help us to work together to expose the corruption, the nepotism which existed. But that only lasted for less than 2 months. Then after, Jammeh itself changed a new page, which was a big surprise for us. Yes.
After what happened to you, did it have any impact on the stories that the Point newspaper carried, or did you continue writing pieces such as the one that got you into trouble?
Yes, I continue to I continue to report in all aspects. You know, I'm a all-rounder in a sense. I cover sports, I cover current affairs. So if I told there is a big news, I went for it, double-check my sources. When it is correct, I publish it. You know, my life, my hobby, my everything is journalism. So really, is why that I never discourage. We were fortunate. I can say that I was fortunate not to be tortured or maltreated at that time at the police.
You already told us that you worked with the late Data Haidara at Radio Seed in 1970 onwards. You also established the Point newspaper together with Mr. Babukar Gay. Can you tell us how your relationship with Mr. Data Haidara began?
Data is my elder brother. He was born June 8, 46. He was from Hagan Street, number 8, neighbor to one of the commissioners, our sister, Adelaide Sote. So, in a nutshell, Data was my everything in a sense. We start to move together before we start Radio Seed. Before we were employed, we used to meet 27 Perseverance in Banjul to the house of late Badou Mbenga, who was working in the Senegalese embassy, a man who was very open, may his soul rest in peace. So there was a gathering, all those who were doing French, foyer school, we used to go there, and since then, my father, when this opportunity of Radio Seed came, he prayed for us to get the job. Before Radio Seed, we were together. So Data, he was elder than me for 4 years, because 46, me 1950. So I took him as a brother, not friend, but a brother.
How would you describe him? What kind of person was he?
Very humble, very generous, very, very generous. He was the one who initiated 1982 the cemetery of Joswang to be fenced. He asked me to come. We had a meeting with some elders. We said, the cemetery moved since 1981 here in Joshua. So now we are 1982. The best thing is we write in the papers, we'll go to some people to get funds to do the fencing. Besides that, whenever somebody financially has a problem and he can help, he do so. He encourage youth every time to be educated. When you are educated, or sometimes when he is sponsor or the parent is sponsor, he will make sure that he will have the results so that to know whether you are really eligible to continue with him about the trend to be educated or not. Because financially, when you spend something, you shouldn't have to prove. It was a guy who don't want take advantage. He defended the voice of the voiceless. He was every time ready to fight his cause. He don't want to take advantage. Even his children, if they want to travel or something like that, he said, go to Pap, he's your dad. That shows the relationship that I have with him. Yes, when Mary Pierre was going to UK, the elder daughter, he said, Pap, you are the one who should accompany her at the airport. When Baba was Baba was at the point, he was assisting me in the sports section. He said, Pap, Baba wants to travel. I said, well, I will do the necessary for the passport and everything to arrange. He can do it, but he wants to show them, Pap is your dad. He can do it. He has the means. But every time he showed to the children, go to Pap, go to Pap. That showed that the fraternity, the relations, the strong relation that we have.
As far as you know, did he receive any threats prior to his demise as a result of his activities as a journalist?
Publicly, he never informed me personally. He never informed me personally. He never informed me personally that he received threat. But in the entourage of the point, because every time I used to go out, when he was alive, I used to go out because I was in charge of the marketing. But some of the staff told me that they had the opportunity. He told them. For us, it was not a surprise because there were a lot of people who used to came to the office, like late Babu Sow, Sohaibou Konate, said to him, you should be diplomatic with these guys. Because whenever you write story, people talk too much. Because Omar Barrow was killed year 2000. So you should be careful and also go home before 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. But I believe in his job and he has love. He loved the job. It was why that really, with all this, I'm sorry. Yes. So he sacrificed his life because he knew that he was always ready to fight for press freedom. You know, 2 days before he was killed, he was fighting for the bill, the commission bill. I know that it was enacted by the National Assembly, but he was not pleased with that. He wrote so many stories about that. So it was not a surprise for the Jammeh regime to kill him, to eliminate him. Because for them, he was a target. He was the one who was educating the public about their corruption, about other things. It was why that really it was targeted. My surprise is I will not make direct allegation because I took oaths. You know, I'm a Muslim. I don't want to take over. But I will leave you when you ask me another question. I will come to that point because I don't want to steal the show.
Well, it is your show, Mr. Saine.
All yours.
I'm merely assisting, so I follow your direction.
Yeah.
So the advice that he received about how he should comport himself, was that mainly in relation to the Media Review Commission, or was it also in relation to his column, Good Morning,
column.
Mr. President?
His column. His column.
Can you tell us about how you found out about Mr. Data Haidara's death?
For me, it was a big surprise. You know, how to call it? 16 December 2004 was our 13th anniversary. That day, my brother also was getting married, and the rites of marriage were supposed to be done during evening time, and Aidara was supposed to preside over the wedding ceremony, because I too, whatever I do at home, he's the one in charge. Knowing very well, I told him that today is the rites, so you will make sure that we close earlier so that you will be able to go. He said yes. But me, around 6, after the reception, I left home. I went home, and after, he said to me, after closing, I will find you in the place at Kanifing South. We waited until 11. I didn't hear from him. We called many times to reach him. The telephone was off. And I said to people who came for the rites of the marriage of my brother and his wife, I said to them, it's getting late. So I chose one of them to preside the ceremony. I reached at home around 1:30. So when I came, my wife asked me if I got Mary. I said, Mary, Mary? He said, Mary, your secretary. I said, she called many times. She wants to talk to you. I said, yeah. I said, Mary Bankinjai, what happened? She said, well, I heard that Aidara was shot. Where are you? I said, at home. He said, the best thing is to go to find out, especially in the hospital. I fainted. Because during that day, the appearance of Data has changed. Because the first thing he told me, 13, you know, it was our 13th anniversary. He said for me, he said he was not easy at all, because 13 is a bad figure. I said, what do you mean by bad figure? He said, well, for me, I'm not happy, because the figure 13, I'm not so happy. I said, well, why you are not happy? He said, well, let the ambassador, the U.S. ambassador, when he comes, and after chatting with him, we'll discuss certain issues. I said, yes. The American ambassador came, we had a discussion. He told him, he briefed him about the media bill, which was enacted 2 days before, which will jeopardize everything, our faith, because this bill, when it will come, it will not good for the youth, those young journalists, because the commission that time, if can bar or can suspend a journalist for 12 months and can close a media house for 18 months. It was why all along Data was fighting to see that that National Commission bill will not go through. But as I said to you, when Mary called me and informed me that Aidara was shot, I went straight to the hospital. So I took a taxi. On my way going, Sam Sar and Khalifa called me. He said, is it true that Data was shot? I said, yes, it's true. I'm going to the hospital. And they said to me, any information, let us know. I said, yes. When I went to the hospital around 1, 5 minutes after, I saw a pickup carrying his body. I was crying. Then after, I saw some, gradually, many people at the front gate of the hospital. Then one of the lady, who was a nurse and colleague of my wife, asked me, "Pap, can I see you?" I said, "Yes." He said, "It's not safe, you stay here. It's not safe, you are around. These people can mob you. Because either it's confirmed that he's dead. So let me help you one thing if you want." I said, "Let's go to the duty room. You will stay there, but leave this place." And the lady advised me. I said, "Well, okay." Then I called my wife. I said, "Well, it's true that Haider was shot, 3 bullets, head, the chest. It was confirmed dead. So now the best thing is I will spend the night here at the hospital. Then first thing in the morning I will go." First thing in the morning when I went to the office, some of them, they were not aware. I told them. They were crying. So it was that aspect that I knew about the death of Haider. But as I said to you, we were disappointed about the report in a sense that it was strange that somebody who was working for the security, retired Lamin Saine, Haider used to edit his book. Haider used to assist him in many things. So he was the one afterwards who was investigating the death of Haider. Then after, he was the one who summoned me at the NIA with Mary Bankinjai, with our cleaner, with other staff to question us how Haider was killed.
Mr. Saine,
Yes.
before you talk about
Excuse me.
before you talk about what happened when you were summoned, I just have a few follow-up questions on what you've just told us. You said that on your way to the hospital, you
Yeah.
were called by Samsar and Halifa. Would that be Halifa Saleh?
Yes.
And then you went to the hospital. Was it the hospital or the mortuary?
The
'Cause
hospital.
First, it was the hospital.
Yes. First, the hospital.
Which hospital?
When you, now Edward Small, Edward Francis Small, when he was confirmed dead, then after they brought him at the mortuary.
And you said at the mortuary you noticed that there were 3 bullets on his body. Is
I
that
didn't
correct?
go to the mortuary, in fact, because I was warned by one nurse, to leave the place where we are at the hospital and go and follow her to go to the room, to the guard room.
So were you informed by someone else about the injuries that the late Haider Haider sustained from the gunshot wounds?
Well, I heard that in the chest, head, yes.
Apart from the late Haider Haider, did anyone else, was anyone else injured during that incident?
Yes, I want to come to that. I want to come to that. The problem is when Haider closed from job, he usually help the staff to give them lift. I know that he used to give them transport allowance, but nevertheless, when they are late, especially the ladies, he used to help them to drop them in their houses. So in the car, you had 2, Nyang Sarang Job, who was wounded on of his one of his leg. I can't precise whether it's right or left. Aida Jan also was wounded, but Nyang was seriously injured, and after a few days in the hospital, they were flown to Dakar for other medical checkup and operation.
Were they staff members of The Point newspaper?
Yeah, they are staff.
Do you
Nyang, assistant layout editor, Aida Jan, typist.
You told us that you were summoned at the NIA premises, is that correct?
Yes.
Please tell us about that.
1 week when they at first before NIA it was the police. The police first interrogated me before NIA. When they died on the 16th, so on the 21st, I was summoned at the Banjul headquarters by the PRO, then called Aziz Bojang. So Aziz said to me, we are interrogating you about Daida's death. Do you know the killers? I said, no. Do you know that he received threat? I said, it could be. He said, whom do you think is the author? I said, I cannot tell you, you are the police. You are the one who should investigate and tell us. He said, Pap, if you don't tell me anything concrete, you will not go home. I spent there from 10 to around 6, interrogating me, whether I have problem with data. I said, no. Financial problem? No. Do you know the killers again? I said, no. So afterwards, when he knew that he did everything possible, I was released. But I spent some hours there.
About 8 hours.
I didn't write statement. He was questioning me and typing all about data and also my relation with data.
So you spent about 8 hours at the police station?
Yes.
And is this correct? You were questioned by the public relations officer?
Yes.
Were you questioned by anyone else from maybe the criminal investigations unit or the serious crimes unit?
No, what I can remember, the PRO, Aziz Bojang, yes.
And the questions centered around your relationship with Data and
yes. To kill him.
And even your potential involvement.
Yes. I said no, I never know. I told them that how come Haidara, my brother, my friend, my everything, I knew, I was informed, a plan against him, and I will betray him. I said no. It was why they said they are going to detain me. I must talk. If not, I will not release. I said, God is great. You can detain me, but really I don't know anything about this. I don't know. For me, it was a surprise because even last week when he was killed, I left the office before time because that time I was busy for something, but I don't know anything.
How did you feel about that investigation? How did you feel about the questioning?
You know, after the police, the following week, I was called by NIA. An NIA officer called me. Said, are you Pap Saine? I said, yes. Can you come to NIA? I said, well, for what reason? I said, we want to interview many things about the office, about late data and everything. And if you have your checkbook, the checkbook of the points also, bring along the checkbook. I said, checkbook for what? I said, no, I'm not responsible. I'm not responsible to have the checkbook because the checkbook was with data. It's only when he traveled he gave me the checkbook. So when I came, I was introduced to retired Lamin Saine. I said, well, I know him very well because he used to come to the office, and Data used to help him to write his book and everything. He said, well, we want to know whether do you have any knowledge of Data's death. I said, no. He asked me whether I have any financial problem with Data. I said, no. And then after 2 hours, 3, they released me. But afterwards, I understand they call Mary Bankinjai, the cleaner, and other staff to question them at the NIA. For us, it was a big surprise to know that Saine was working still there, because the way that he was coming to the point, we are friendly. We never know that he was there, and also being the investigator of Data deaths. It was why when the April came out, April 3rd, it was April 3rd, 2005. He wrote what he wanted and makes serious allegation against Zeda, which was not fair. Even at the court, ECOWAS court, also June 14, 2014 in Abuja also, before the judgment, you know, instead they will look at the culprits. They want to put blame or allegation or accusation against Zeda, which was not fair. But God is great in a sense that it was 17 March 2017 that the new government made arrest warrants against 2 senior security officers, Sana Manyang, Colonel Sana Manyang, and Bombardier. All they fled, but they because they said they are the main suspects. They are the main suspect of the killing of Deda. So it's a real fact. There's no doubt that is the junglers, Jammeh's guy who killed Deda. Nobody can dispute that.
But how did you feel about the Jammeh government's own investigations into Deda Haidara's murder?
It was a fake. I can say fake. It was fake because it was not credible investigation. You hate somebody, you make some allegation against him, you know that that person cannot survive, and also you know that that time we cannot challenge it in the newspaper, because when we write it, we will be killed. But we knew that it was not a fact, because Deda was only helping the staff to drop them in their respective house, because they are women, and sometimes we close very late. So it was because of sympathy, because he was a good Muslim, good believer, that he was helping the staff. But Saine, who was leading the investigation, wanted to make an allegation. So it's why that we are appealing this government to make another fresh investigation to tell us the real picture of what was happening about Deda's death.
And from your perspective, what impact did Deda's murder have on the profession as a whole, including yourself?
For Deda's death, I believe, you know, I could be wrong, but I think there are 2 issues which led the death of Deda. One, about good morning, Mr. President. For Jammeh, Deda was very critical on him, because what Jammeh wants, to praise him, to not tell him the truth. You know, with the column Good Morning, you must do research. And also, you must hear from people what they said. You transmit the message to the president to help him to know. But Jammeh never wants to be criticized. The other aspect is maybe also the National Commission bill, because they fought total nil to make sure that this will not happen. But fortunately for government, they did everything possible to make sure the law was enacted 2 days before the death of Deda. Because our sister Sabali, who was our lawyer, did everything possible in the court, because that time nothing happened. Because as I said to you, the draconian laws in the National Commission was ready to kill the press totally. In a sense, the commission, 11 members, if you are brought to the commission as a journalist, when you write something and it's not true or is alarming, you could be banned for 1 year. For any media house who welcome those kind of stories and publish it, that media house will be closed for 18 months. It was why Data, Yoro Jallo, and Demba Ali Jawo, all, they sued the government and Samsara and others because they wanted free press. It was why they said no to those for the National Commission Bill not to be enacted, for the national bill not to be au fait with the reality of press freedom.
How did Data's death make you feel? You as well as other journalists, how did you feel about it?
I said to you when I had the news, when Mary called me and confirmed that he was shot, I fainted down. In a sense, the love, the partnership that we have, really. After his death, the paper was closed more than 3 weeks. Why? We could have done it the following week, but there was a hesitation for me to continue the profession. I had pressure from my family. I had pressure from friends not to continue the job. But thank Allah, one of my colleagues, Demba Ali Jawo, came to me and said, Pap, either you accept or not, soon or later you will die. You will die because it's natural that when you, in life, life cannot continue. You must continue this job to make happy Data. If not, you will betray him. So those kind of statements move me. Mrs. Aidara also, Maria, who is my sister, I name her after my daughter, good friend of mine, said to me, Pap, well, this happened. We take Allah. So we re-establish the paper and we carry on the job. But it was not easy at all when the paper was closed to reopen it. But since I have pressures, some said no, some said yes, I was confused. But after realizing that sooner or later nobody will be exempted for that, I said, well, let me continue. Because of that, I had many opportunities even, to go away with my family. But I said, I will never betray Data because his belief was press freedom. His belief was to make the paper higher. It was why even when he died, 2005, the paper became daily, and the paper itself won several awards.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Saine. We've come to the end of this session.
Thank you.
So I will hand over to Mr. Chairman for us to take a break and then resume again. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you very much, Council. Thank you very much, Mr. Saine, for that very detailed testimony. We would take a lunch break, 1 hour, and then come back sharp 3 o'clock. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.